You gotta get up. You gotta get up. You gotta get up. But did me wake up and
hello and welcome everybody to the talk.
The world will never see you until you do. They don't really care, see they do you. So make you show them, baby. Oh yeah, show them the real you. Oh yeah, show them what you get. No, don't let them say what's in other why you struggle. You can't bring no. You want more than 1,000 reasons why. You don't need to perfect, baby. There's nobody perfect, darling. No, there's nobody in the world will be like you.
Hello again and welcome to the Touch Yourself show with Toyin Adesola and the gang. Well, today we're going to have a special discussion on half empty or half full. What is your perspective? But before we start that, this is a production of Sickle Cell Advocacy and Management Initiative supported by the Public Affairs section of the U.S. Consulate. So if you have your comments, your questions, please don't forget to put it in the comment box and we're glad to discuss it or answer it. So I'll bring on my two guests on the show and I'll tell you a bit about them as they come on. Hey guys. Hello,
Hi,
David. Hello.
Toyin.
David, you're on mute. I don't know if you realize that you're still on mute, so we may not hear you. But in the meantime, while he's trying to unmute himself, I have Timi Edwin. She is the founder and executive director of Crimson Sickle Cell Initiative, a non-profit, of course, focused on sickle cell issues, supporting and awareness. And she's also a farmer. A farmer, but she's also into agricultural stuff as well, and she's many more things. But we'll talk to David now, and David Olaseinde is a professional photographer, focusing on I don't know whether he has a niche, because right now, COVID has hit us all, so we have different niches.
We are multifaceted.
Yes, exactly. And he's also
Yes.
a sickle cell warrior and advocate. So today we're talking about the question half full or half empty. And I was listening to a talk by Fela Durotui today, and he was talking about whether it's half full, you see things as half full or half empty, depends on your focus and your expectations. So as sickle cell, I'm going to give it to both of you. As sickle cell warriors, are there any particular expectations growing up that you felt you should have had, or I should even put it also in the reverse, in that were there any expectations that people outside expected of you as a sickle cell warrior that you felt should not have occurred?
Ladies
So David,
first.
go first. I hope you have my
Ladies
questions.
first. Ladies first.
See, set up. David is trying to set me up. Meanwhile, I was waiting
Not
for him
at
to
all.
answer so that I can think of an answer too. Okay, let me try. If I understand the question well, you are asking if there was any expectations that we had of is it of ourselves or of the world,
Yes.
or
You
any
first of all,
ex-
one of yourself, that as somebody with sickle cell warrior, as a sickle cell warrior, there were certain expectations you expected of yourselves. And then two, from outsiders, or from other people, were there certain expectations that how will I call it, they fixed on you that you didn't like?
Okay, so I expected to be very normal. I expected to be pretty. I expected
And
to be a
people,
normal size. I was very tiny. You know, that thing used to bother me so much. Like, why am I so tiny in this world? But yes, I had those expectations of myself. I expected to be first in class, but that one never
mm,
happened.
yeah,
That one never
yeah.
happened. Although they always told me I was smart, I was intelligent, but when the report card came, I ended up being middle. I ended up being like, I used to chop some kind positions there, but I never chopped last
I
shot.
know, I know the
Let's
feeling.
thank God for that. Then okay, so the expectations of the world on me. I mean, there was a time that they used to tell me they used to say that I was very tall.
You- You've gone off. Okay, now you're back.
Sorry, there's a call trying to come in. I don't know what I'm supposed
Oh,
to do now. That's what is
we can
cutting
we can
this.
hear you actually. We can hear you now.
Okay, you can hear me. Okay.
yes.
Yes.
So, they told me at some point in my life that I was lazy. So, right now, if anybody calls me to
Mm,
be lazy, I hate it with a passion. I
mm,
cannot be referred to as lazy. So, I try to. So, that was the expectation of the world on me that I felt was a bit too much, a bit unfair. Because I did house chores as much as I possibly could, but I found out that when I did, at some point, like washing the bathroom and all that, my back used to hurt me. So why are
mhm.
we here? Why are we doing it? Let's stop it, please.
Mm.
Yes. So, when we sweep
Please.
the whole house, like in my house, we had the tradition that, I mean, everyone, we used to divide the house into, everybody had like their sections. And so I found out that when I did mine, it kind of used to make me go into a crisis. And
Mm.
yeah,
We've lost David. Okay, back on.
no, it's
Sort
here.
of.
So I think if I have I've been able to answer your question. Um,
Yes. Okay, David,
well,
your turn.
Okay, well, what I expected of myself. Let me take a cue from Timi. As a child, I mean, I would say I had retarded growth. And Stoyin, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, okay. I had retarded growth as a child. Among my mates, I was diminutive in size. I couldn't do the physical exercises and sports. I remember when I was in primary school, I was
Mm.
co-opted into Morning Glory House, and I was asked to come and run. I'm like, these people, that means they want me to take first from behind. Anyway, when they saw that this guy he wasn't going to give us the ribbon, they dropped me themselves. So as a child, they expected that, you should do what other children are doing, but with time they got to understand that, look, we're actually special, and it's not as if we can't do these things, but we can only do it based on our limits. Growing up, getting into secondary school, we are more mature, we have an understanding of what's going on and all that. I expected my classmates, for instance, to understand when I complain of certain things. They should understand and see that
Yeah.
I'm being genuine with my complaints. It's not as if I'm trying to be funny. Back at home, same thing. I mean, it's natural that as a boy, you should do the physical chores at home and all that, which I did. I mean, nobody would say I was a lazy person growing up. But there are sometimes when we do these house chores, especially, I remember when I was much younger, every weekend on Saturdays, I had certain jobs I do. Sweep the house, do the cooking in the morning, Saturdays and all that. But I noticed that Saturdays I usually feel dizzy. And when I start feeling dizzy like that, if I continue like that, I don't see anything. If I continue,
Yeah.
I may slump. So I'll just go and stay in one corner, hiding. Because if they see me sitting down, not doing anything, they will assume that probably this guy is trying to be lazy. But actually it's not that. I mean, now that one is
Yeah.
grown up, you can manage yourself, you know what to do, you know when to rest, you can manage your time. Nobody can push you around anymore. So that's just it basically.
So, coming with this perception of people and there was a common thread of people thinking you are lazy and all that. Do you think it's as a result of a narrative they've been told? Sorry, about what sickle cell truly is? Because I noticed, I remember somebody even complained to me about that when she was in secondary school, that the teacher used to think she used to call her lazy, and most of the times it's because she wasn't feeling too well at that particular point in time. So do you think there is not enough information, or maybe because it's a narrative that the people that how do they say it in Yoruba, onkera? Yeah,
Mm,
pretending, try to
mm,
garner sympathy by behaving like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah.
So what do I'll start with this time with you, David.
Okay, well, I think it's two. It's actually the two. It's two ways. It's both the narrative and the information not being passed across properly. Now, I expect again, coming to what we expect of the people around us, whether family, friends, or neighbors, or wherever. It's we are the ones that we know what is going on. We are the ones assuming. It is now our duty to explain these things to these people. That look, it's not nobody is being lazy here. Nobody is being lazy. It's just that there's a limit to what we can do. We should let them understand that look, our energy level, we may not be energetic physically, but every other aspect, we're energetic, mindset, emotionally, psychologically. But when it comes to that physical strength, I mean, we cannot compete with you people. So I think it's our work, it's our duty to let them know, because we are the ones that know where the shoe pinches us. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah. Yeah. Bring me to my
Okay.
second question. But let's Timmy answer first.
Okay.
Okay. So if I got your
Timmy,
question
over
right,
to you.
yes, can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, I can hear
Okay.
you. We can hear you.
Yes, very well.
Okay.
We can hear you.
So if I get your question right, you're asking if it's on us to let people know that we're not lazy, right? How do you mean? Is that the question?
Well, his answer is because no, the question was, in fact, I forgot what I was saying. The question was
You
like,
were, you were,
why is it that people have a perception that don't do anything, we're lazy? Is it because the information is not passed to them, or is it because of a narration that is being told about people with sickle cell, that we're always pretending that we're not as bad as we are saying?
Well, let me first even start that our culture here glorifies hard labor,
Mm.
glorifies suffering.
mm,
Glorify. I mean, if you not put your energy into something, then
if you don't sweat
then
it out.
If you don't spend exactly. I think that's just it. It's not even about it. I remember being at work one time, and this was maybe about 8 years ago. Some people came and said they would be able to go to the market for women.
Mm.
I mean, that's what they wanted to do. I mean, now it's quite common, but then women were like, "Eh, God forbid." So why am I a woman? So if I
Mm.
can't go to the market myself, and I was like, "What?" I mean, if there's convenience, please let's use it. So I first of all feel like in this our culture that people just feel like if you have not put the sweat in or the whatever in, then you are lazy. But we should first of all scrap that as a trend. It's as a culture. Like right now, the world is so stressful already that we should move towards making things as easy as possible for ourselves. That being
Mm.
said, there should be a lot more information out there. I mean, especially about people living with sickle cell. That look, we are strong. We are. Yes, we always say we are warriors. We are strong and everything, but there's a limit to our physical energy. Even if we have that physical energy, why are we
Mm.
expending this physical energy on things that we can easily get solutions to? By solutions, I mean we can get help for, or we can use
Yeah,
machines or whatever it is.
yeah, can I solve?
Yes, we can outsource.
Exactly.
Exactly. So
Mm.
yes, I feel like maybe we should actually make a lot more noise about the fact that um we as warriors have a limitation, a physical limitation. Even if you don't have that physical limitation, because like I said, some of us feel like we are very energetic, but after experiences, you just feel like, let's just take a chill pill, man. Even if I have this
Yeah.
energy, let's just rest, please, because we never really can tell when this crisis will come. So
Mm-hmm.
The
let's
midnight
just
visitor.
avoid. Exactly. Let's just avoid situations when um we will have to spend money when we could have saved energy.
Yeah, yeah. So that brings me to, okay, we're talking about information because David, you said something that is left for us to tell people the
How
situation.
we
But do
feel.
you think
Yes.
how we feel? But do you think there's enough of that around of
No.
us telling people or explaining how we feel or you
No.
know?
No. And it's quite unfortunate. I mean, after all these years, I wouldn't say when I say all these years, it's not like I'm too old anyway. I'm still a young man. But I mean, people that have been before us, our generation, and those that are a little bit younger than us. When you look at the percentage of those who are vociferous about talking about sickle cell anemia, you discover that a lot of people are just unnecessarily timid. And
Mm,
I'm like, I mean, this is who you are. This is who you are. And like I keep telling people, you think sickle cell anemia is the worst condition? Then you need to go and see, you need to go to hospices and see what people
yeah.
go through. People are
Mm,
100% dependent. But you can still do one or two things. Of course, the pains come once in a while. It's not like it is perpetual. You are not flat on your in bed. And even if you are, I mean, you can't still compare it to those that can't even think. We have people who their own condition is not even body pains. It is that they can't think. They are permanently in the hospice. They have people who take care of them 24 hours. So if people
Yeah.
have these people have families. Your condition is not as worse as that. So what's your problem? You are good looking, you are handsome, you are beautiful, you can think for yourself, you can fend for yourself. Academically, you are there, you are sound. So why can't you just? I mean, if we are going to be talking about SCD, looking for a way to, I still believe it can be eradicated totally. But it begins if everybody takes this advocacy seriously. Everybody talks about it, and that way we are going to make impact. But apart from that, if we don't do that, I mean, we are the only ones that can blow our trumpets. Nobody's going to blow it louder than we would naturally do. So that's his basic plan story.
Okay. Timmy, do you have anything to add to that
I
in
mean, he
terms
said
of
it.
us
He has said
talking,
it all.
speaking?
He has said it all. Don't let me.
Okay.
There's nothing else
So,
left to add.
so I hear you when you say we're not talking because I remember Timmy one time you were on a radio show and you said somebody came to use that. There's so much talk about sickle cell, sickle cell this, sickle cell that. So if and I know at least in urban areas there's a lot of talk. But do you think it's the right type kind of talk? Because really, like we're discussing, there's this perception of there's a one-sided story about what sickle cell is. I was remembering this guy, Nick Vujicic, who has no hands and no legs, and he doesn't talk about. Yes, he talks about, okay, he has no hands and no legs, but he doesn't talk about it in a way that is, woe is me, I have this issue. But he talks about it in terms of inspiring others that yes, he has this, but he's been able to achieve this and this and this. So is the narration of sickle cell uh focused in the wrong way, or should I put it like that? Is it not directing the right information that people can, all they say is that, oh, we've had about sickle cell, we've had about sickle cell.
Okay, so I feel like I can't say there's too much information or there's not enough information. Well, I feel like there's not enough information. We should keep talking about it, but you will also realize that it depends on the circle you are in. So if you are in a circle where you follow one or two NGOs, or you follow all the NGOs on Instagram or social media, or you have friends that live with sickle cell, then you may get the tendency to get bombarded with a lot of information. But if you're not personally related to someone with sickle cell, that means maybe it's not an immediate family member. It may become a bit too much,
That's
like
true.
what's going on
That's
really.
true.
But you'll be also be surprised that there are people that don't have information. Like
Yeah.
so there are sometimes that I get calls from people who say, "Oh, thank you for coming out. That you live with sickle cell." I'm like, "Oh my god, there are so many people that have come out. I'm not the only one." Do you understand?
No,
But they say it in such a way that they're just hearing about it for the first time, and it shocks me. It shocks
I
me.
know the feeling.
It really
I know the
shocks
feeling.
me
I
oh,
remember the
because
time I came out, said, "Whoa, wow!" It's like as if you are coming out for some sin that you committed. It's like, "Wow, you
yes,
are able to. Wow, how could you? I can't do that, oh, and all that stuff." Which leads me to the point that, okay, yes, we are not coming out. Is it because I know there's stigma, but is it because of the narration of it, what a typical person
okay,
with
so
sickle
I now started thinking about it recently. Remember that I threw this question open on
yeah.
on a few groups that I belong to, that um if you were someone who wanted to get married to someone living with sickle cell, and you Google sickle cell right now, like you just Google, and then you see all the information out there, would you want to marry someone living with sickle cell? Is it scary? Is it scary or is it encouraging? That's where I was coming from. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, is it
I,
scary?
I I understand. Okay, there are people who will say that, it's my personal. I'm trying to put out this thing. Although I feel that organizations to also put out I won't call it negative, but the awful parts. Let's put it that way of what sickle cell is about. But somebody will say like, okay, well, it's my personal. It's what I'm going through. you know. But I would ask as well is that, are there going to be ramifications when you keep bombarding somebody with negative, not
Okay,
just, you give
so
an example
yes, I
of,
feel like there should be more positive stories out there. I mean, I'm not saying that people with negative stories. I mean, please, that would be extremely mean and insensitive of me to
mm,
say. I mean, everybody
Mm.
has a story. Even me, I suffered first before I started having a little bit of breakthrough here and there. So even me, self, I have that suffering, suffering too. But I feel like, I mean, if you're out there to inspire others, if you feel like your story is an inspiration, then use the
Yeah.
platform to inspire people. Like tell your story, but also have there should be some positivity. There should be a
mm,
spin. There should be a positive spin at the end. So at
mm,
the end of it, so when people listen to your story, and they look at the end and they're like, thank God, at least she's not like life is turning out somewhat okay for her, and then
mm,
he or she can begin to bring up points of where other people can begin to make changes. So I feel like
yeah,
sometimes we're given a very large platform, but because we're so emotional
That is the
about our
word.
stories,
That is the
we
word.
don't
Sentiments.
yes, and we don't use this platform rightly. Do you
Yeah.
understand? Like, okay, so right now we are talking about the NGO bill. I'm sorry if I'm
mm.
jumping the gun,
No,
and
no, no,
I
no,
feel
no,
like the
no.
NGO I feel like the NGO bill is as a result of what they've had so far. You know,
Thank you.
Mm,
sickle cell,
mm,
genotype testing. That the government now feels like they want to take ownership of this genotype testing. But I feel like
yeah.
if we use our platforms and talk about other things like stigmatization and how it can
Mm-hmm.
be curbed, and what we can
Mm,
do in our offices instead of just complaining about the fact that they're not giving us jobs, but we can complain
mm,
about we can also say that, oh, we are not giving us jobs, but
But we
if
can
we're
create
given these
jobs ourselves.
opportunities, exactly. Exactly, we
That's
can
true.
create these jobs ourselves, or if we're given the opportunity, though we may not come to work all the time, but we
Mm-hmm.
will
mm.
perform.
That is now
Um,
people are doing work from home.
Yes,
Exactly.
exactly, exactly.
Yes.
Rather than just saying, "Oh, you didn't give me a job because I fall sick, I fall sick, I fall sick." Yes, we fall sick. I mean, it's sporadic. We can't tell when exactly the sickness is going to come, but we
Mm,
can also spin it and say, "Okay, yes, we may not know when the sickness is coming, but when we are healthy, we will put in our hundred
we are
percent."
capable.
But because we are
True.
so sentimental about these things, we focus on the why you not giving me a chance. Do you understand? It should be a
Mm,
problem and
Mm,
solution. Yes, we are talking about the problem, but we are also
yes.
preparing solutions as soon as we're talking about the problems. So that even the people that we are trying to talk to, they know how to help us as well. Rather than,
yeah.
because I'm just thinking about it. If you're a HR, an employer, and you're listening to, oh, why are you telling me that I won't be, whatever. I mean, they'll be like, really? Yes, of course. Because everybody wants to make money. If you are an
Mm,
employer, you want to make money, or you want to get the best from your employee. And
That's
yes,
true.
you may feel like, okay, you're open-minded, you are diverse or whatever, but at the back of your heart or the back of your mind, you may think, I don't want someone that will be because the
some-
impression that is given out there is
what
you're falling sick
they
anytime.
cannot walk, they are lazy, they fall sick
Exactly.
many
I,
times. Which brings me to
I
David.
I think
I'll
again, what? Okay, okay, I'm with you, ma.
yeah.
I was just going to add to what she said. You know, again,
Mm,
as a warrior, there's no doubt about the fact that the challenges are there. But in the midst of the challenge, what can you as a human being, not as a sickle cell person now, what can you as a
mm,
human being offer? The truth of the matter is, I'm a warrior, and if I'm to employ people, if I'm to employ people, and I have the capacity to employ a lot of people, I will naturally consider those who are warriors first. But
yeah.
I'm not doing that because, yes, they are
Of
warriors, but I will fish out those that have something to offer. And that is where
super.
again, it begins with you and I. What do you have to
Mm,
offer? What are you projecting? What are you putting on the table? Don't give me this and sorry, what do you call it? I don't belong to the pity party, you know. Yes,
yeah.
when I'm down, yes, I know I'm down. I can be cranky, I can be emotional, I can be sentimental, you know. But when I'm up there, now when I say I'm talking about everybody now who lives
Mm,
with sickle cell. What can you
yeah.
offer? You don't dwell on that aspect. Now again, what I want to say, talking about, are they passing they, either the organizations or the people living with sickle cell, are they passing the information negatively? It's a two-way thing. There is no way you
Mm,
can talk about the positive without talking about the negative. But
yeah.
we should have a way of balancing. If you are
Mm,
to talk about both, make it 50-50. And if at all anyone is going to be above, let the positive side be 70-30 or 60-40. But not
yeah.
just be clouding everybody with gloom, gloom, gloom. No, no, no.
Mm, gloom
I'm
and
not
doom.
gloomy a person. You can see how bright my face is. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was talking to somebody, and there's this perception, that same perception, because she was like, oh, for the first time, she didn't know that a person with sickle cell, she met somebody who is sickle cell who was tall, had a bit of weight, and the narration that is being said is that person with sickle cell is small, is skinny, sometimes has protruding head, that typical what thing before medical science improved, that people's life with sickle cell improved. So people still have that perception that you have that what you call sickly look. Let's put it that way. So in that
Okay.
narration, do you think we need to change it in another way around in explaining what people with sickle cell go through, or do you think we should just not talk about that side at all? Because I'll add another thing. There's this issue of warrior and sickler. I remember I was posting my reprint of my book coming up, and I was posting a reprint of my book coming up, and it had something like about warrior, and somebody came up and said that warrior, that it doesn't resonate with him, that what is warrior, that what they knew was sickler. So I tried
Okay,
to
can
explain.
I? Okay.
Let me my
So
story.
I don't. Okay.
I tried to explain that the challenges of, okay, it used to be, but this is now what they call it. He said, well, in terms of, it doesn't matter what the world calls it now, but it's what people know that should be portrayed, should be named. So take it from there.
Well, in the first place, the word sickler just
Mm,
came into the dictionary a few years back. If you had checked the
mm.
dictionary some 10, 20 years ago, there's nothing like
There was
sickler.
nothing like,
The
yeah.
word sickler came from the word sickle. But
Mm,
a lot of people didn't know that sickler came from the word sickle, not from the word
mm,
sick. It's not from the
mm,
word sick. So I mean,
mm.
why will you, if even if you want to relate somebody with being sick, then call the person sicker, not sicker, because there's not. I mean, it doesn't make sense. So I mean, why would you coin a word that originally did not exist, but because it's been used all over the world? Yeah, I mean, it's been adopted. I mean, just the way we have downfall in the Oxford dictionary today because of continuous usage. That doesn't mean originally it
Yeah,
was right. But warrior, I mean,
yeah,
it's not derogatory. It's not derogatory. For God's sake, we are talking about
yeah.
positive
And not
aspects.
saying
We are
but
talking
it's just
about positive
useful.
aspects. So why will
Yes,
you look at me?
aspect.
I am a stickler. But if you say, look at me, I'm a warrior. Yeah, I do things. I do things as a warrior. I fight every day, and I come surmounting all my challenges.
Mm,
That projects hope. That projects positivity. So I
mm,
really don't subscribe for the word calling us sticklers. In fact, a friend of mine, we usually argue this thing. She said, look, whatever they call her, but it's not about whatever you call her. How about other people that are not as bold as you are? It's not
mm.
just about you. It's about trying to also
Yeah.
uplift other people to be courageous enough, to be bold enough, and to believe in themselves, have that self assertion. And these little words just matter. That's it.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. So that brings me to the question, Timmy. You're talking about
Yes.
those coming in future. How can we change the narrative of how we portray life living with sickle cell? Because when I was thinking about this thing, I realized that we're not only thinking about the present. We're thinking. Imagine a person with sickle cell comes up in the future, is growing up, and now says, "Okay, let me Google about sickle cell, or let me hear," and all they hear is gloom and doom. Don't you
Mm.
think that will create a lot of, already your mindset is already, this is the end of the world for me. So how do we change that? Start telling stories that will inspire people coming up, because I see that a lot of warriors are not surrounded by people who have that, you know, positive stories. Let's put it that way.
Okay, so I find out that there are quite a number of successful warriors out there. So many,
Hmm.
actually. There are quite a number of them have
They
great
are, yeah.
jobs, living great lives, married with children, just living their normal lives. But they don't want to associate with the community because
Hmm.
they still just don't want to. Like I meet them every day, and I'm like, oh, okay, I live with sickle cell, but you see, I don't really want people knowing that I live with sickle cell. And then you're like, why? And you can tell, right? Really, they
Hmm.
still feel like there's still just a lot of, negativity around it. So I think we should just start by telling
Yes.
more positive stories. There are many ways to portray positive stories. We can use more of media, more of social media, more of traditional media. We can do more. Like there's a film that they keep talking about, Dazzling Mirage.
Dazzling mirage.
Yes, you can do more films. It doesn't stop with one film. You can do many, many more films in this world. And there are like I'm sure there are like 1,000 HIV films out there, cancer films, the rich film.
There are so many.
There are many things on
There are
health
so
issues.
many.
Even look at
Yes.
it, and like HIV before used to be so, people used to now, but now who even thinks about that much now, But
Oh, no.
it comes to telling, I know you're talking about people who live with sickle cell and doing well and don't want to come out, but the truth of the matter, especially with the way the mindset of society is with stigma and all that, when you hear stories, negative stories like that out there, let's face it, will you want to come out and start talking about
No.
that?
So
No.
I think maybe we
That's
should
it.
just encourage
So,
more people to come out to talk. I mean,
Yes,
we
mm,
that's
just
it.
start
Just
identifying them,
encourage
pushing
them.
them out, letting them talk about it. And we should not even, I mean, there's a lot to this sickle cell than just relationship and job. There's a lot, there's
Yeah.
a lot. There are too many, I mean, you're a human being, there are too many sides to you. We can start to portray the different sides, different angles. There's just
mm,
Mm.
so many things. Just let's start portraying ourselves as human beings. Human beings
Yeah.
are living life to the fullest. And then you
yeah.
see that um we would start passing the narrative self, people self that are living with sickle cell that are not even happy. They to start to live happy lives, and it's it's just like a little drop of water making a mighty ocean.
Mighty
One
Ocean. Yeah.
drop here, one
My
That's
drop
true.
here.
solution.
Before you know it, bucket here. Before you know it, gorodome tank. Behold, there's an
Yeah.
ocean.
Yeah. That's true.
Okay, David, do you have anything to add to that? I think
Well,
somebody's okay. I think it's you,
since
Timmy. Your mic is hanging or something,
yes,
it's
it
hitting
is.
something. Somebody's mic, it's, your mic is hit. Maybe it's where as you are moving, it's hitting something.
Oh, is it me?
Yeah. Yes, it's you.
Okay, sorry. Let
Okay,
me see if
well, Auntie Tony, what I want to say, since Timi mentioned the Dazzling Mirage, please, if they should help us beg Tunde Kelani to release Dazzling Mirage for us to see. I have not seen that movie. I keep missing
I,
it
I
every
haven't.
time he
I
releases
it's
it.
on
keep missing it
TV. Oh,
I keep
on
missing
TV.
it.
I keep missing
There's
it
always
on
one
TV.
thing or the other. So please, Tunde Kelani, if you are watching, release Dazzling Mirage for Warriors so that we can motivate ourselves with it. Please.
But has it ever been shown as on box office?
no, what
Oh,
box office?
I
No,
don't.
I've seen it
As
on African
in,
Magic. Oh,
in cinemas?
Oh, really?
no.
Has
Yes,
it
I've watched it
ever?
on African Magic twice.
Asking a question.
No, I've not seen it. Yes, it was shown in the
No,
cinema at that time, but it
it
didn't show for too
was.
long.
Then
Shown in
he usually shows it every June. Is it June 19 now? But this year he did. I was even looking forward to watching this year's one. I couldn't watch. There was nothing. So well, it's one of those things. The
Maybe
suspense
people are
is
pushing for it to be shown in schools, in other places apart from, and
yes,
get
yes.
organizations too. Because let's face it, it's all
Mm,
about
mm,
finance. And, you need to get support
that's
to be
true.
showing it in different places and all that. So if
Yeah,
that is something that can be done, that is challenge
yeah,
with making any movie or anything. I know, to me, you have something. I know we tried
yes,
something, but the problem is the
mm,
sponsorship, the support to be able to tell these stories. Because let's face it, making movies is not cheap. It's not cheap,
it's
and
not cheap.
true,
it's not
true,
cheap.
Not cheap.
And
true.
typical sponsors are looking for a particular type of story, that will
That's
make
Exactly.
true.
money.
That's
It's all
true.
about making
They
the
don't like
money.
to touch
So,
social issues. That's what I found out. Sponsors don't
no,
like to touch movies
and
that have social issues. They like
at
to
all.
touch.
Mm.
They'll rather go with feel good movies,
Feel good,
romantic,
emotional,
comedy.
sentimental movies.
Mm,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
Comedy, action, if we have any,
yeah,
and all that. So it's definitely a challenge. But whereas in Hollywood, you see them telling these emotional stories, and you see that those are the ones that even win the Oscars and the
Awards.
awards, not the action parts, whatever. So
That's true.
how can we, which brings me to the fact, how can we come together to be able to create, because it's something I also mentioned when they were talking about certain, I won't want to name the name, certain programs that are being shown that are not inspirational. And I told somebody, I said the reality is that, like somebody said, what is the church doing to bring more positive story? Why can't they come together to
Mm.
bankroll inspirational stories, which is what
Yeah.
Americans are doing now, when they
Yeah.
realize that you now
Exactly.
have platforms that like Netflix of the Christian world, you have
Yeah.
movies
Pure
coming
flicks.
out. Yes, yes. So you have different things, but it needs
Yeah.
finance. Let's face it. So how can we get should I say people and organizations to come together to be able to show a more positive side to sickle cell, or even sickle cell stories in general?
And Story, I think first of all, it's not as if people don't know what to do. They know what to do.
Mm.
Organizations know what to do. Well, let's not mention brands here, but you know, in the past, we've seen companies sponsoring reality shows, both the good ones and the not so good ones. They know what to do. Nobody went to meet them to sponsor these things. But the question we should ask, what mindsets do they have? If
One
they don't get
mindset.
the
I
right,
think that one is that.
if they don't get the right mindset, no matter how you try to convince them. So the thing we should do is try to let them understand that, look, for this generation, I mean, it's obvious now that we are in a perverse generation. And it is unfortunate that organizations are also using their funds to promote perversion. They know these things, but apparently this is where the money is.
That is where I'm going.
It is
Yeah,
all
they
about
are
the money for them.
Yes.
It's all about the money for them. But where we are coming from, I was discussing with a friend late into the midnight that what moral are we passing to the next generation? Yeah, you can make all the money now, but when the money is there and there is no moral anywhere, it still comes back to the society. So we are only going to appeal to them. They know what they know. There's nothing we cannot convince them. They already know. We can only appeal to them for them to change their mindset, and let them use their funds to fine tune our morale to the right perspective again. That's just all I have to say.
Okay, Timi, I'll bring you this question
Okay.
that which you're going to answer, and it's still on this issue. Now, we've mentioned one thing that definitely it's profit for them, but how can we? Because I always say, like I learned somewhere that okay, yes, it's profit for them. How can we make them think, or how can we create whatever message we are doing that will be a profit for them?
Okay, so first of all, I know from experience that when you are applying for sponsorship, yes, the CSR and CSR organizations, they focus on, I mean, numbers. So by numbers, they would rather go with gender based violence, gender violence or gender based violence.
Gender-based
Yes, yes,
violence.
Yes, female. They rather support female children because those ones they will be
empowerment,
seen.
empowerment.
They like to be seen, so you need to come
Yeah.
with a
Yes.
proposal that shows that you see this is what you're gonna this is a win-win situation. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
when we portray it in a way that we show them that it's a win-win situation, they will definitely jump on it. And this now comes to the point in which we do not even have research in this country to show exactly how many sickle cell people live in this country, or people living with sickle cell
That's true.
traits. I mean,
That's true.
the information that we have is something that I think Sickle Cell Foundation did this, and they did this as long as 1991 or 1992 or something
Yeah.
like that. So far away,
Yeah.
we need to be able
Yeah.
to show numbers that this is how it
Mm.
affects everyone in this country. It's how it
True.
affects this set of people. This set of, I mean, this is not just this set of people we are affecting. There are lots of people that live with the sickle cell trait too that need to know
Yes.
about,
Yeah.
you know,
Lots.
yes, and just show them basically, and also need to portray our information or what we are like we want to do. We should be able to wrap it with a bit of fun, a bit of, like, for instance, like you said, they bankroll a lot. Like, look at Big Brother Nigeria right now. Well, maybe
Yeah.
whether it's moral or not, I don't know, but we all know that things like sex sells, things like alcohol sells, sin sells.
Fashion.
Steam
Fashion
cells. Yeah,
sells.
that's
Exactly.
Sin sells.
That's true.
Sounds
Obscenity.
inappropriate.
steam cells. I like that statement. Oh
I was going to say that.
Lord.
God forgive
Oh
me.
God.
Maybe we can add a little bit
Yeah. Are you for real?
maybe
A
not
little
6%.
compromise here and there. Is that what you're saying?
No. Okay, so for instance,
Like,
Oh,
yeah. Yeah.
so
Well,
for
unfortunately, it's a reality we face, and we just have to find a way to work around it.
around it. That's true.
Let
That's
me
true.
just share a comment that Lola said. Lola says, I agree with Timmy. Many sickle cell patients that are doing well don't want to be associated with the brand. Yes, we're a brand. I like that statement. We are a
a
brand.
brand. Yes.
You know, I like this. I want to say this. There's this the words from that is it The Greatest Showman? I don't know how
What
many of you how many
greatest
of you have watched
showman?
it. The Greatest, this is me. The
No,
song This Is Me.
no,
No, maybe
no.
I don't think so.
This
It's not
is
sounding
this is
familiar
me.
to
I'm
me.
not a good guy. I'm not friend. How does it go? I've even forgotten. You see my voice. I don't even know. Uh, well, basically, the word says, I'm not a stranger in the dike. Hide away, they say, because we don't want your broken parts. I've learned to be ashamed of all my scars. Run away, they
Mm,
say. No one will love you as you are. But I won't let
mm,
them break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us, for we are glorious. Then there's a place that it says, when the shepherd's words want to cut me down, I'm going to send a flood. I'm going to drown him out. I'm brave and bruised. I am who I am meant to be. This is me. Look out, because here I come. I'm marching on to the beat of the drum. I'm not scared to be seen. I make no apologies because this is me. And there's a part that it talks about their warriors. It's a popular song. Unfortunately, my voice is warrior, warriors, something, something, something. It's a popular song. I'm surprised you don't. I'm sure when you hear it, you know it.
I'm sure
But
maybe.
it's possible.
but
Maybe.
the words just portrayed what a lot of people will say a lot of that. And I think that is a challenge we have with warriors, especially the younger lot. A lot of people have been
Mm,
bounced with negative words.
yeah.
And I always say it's how you take it that determines it. You either block it out of
Mm-hmm.
your ear and use it as a how like a springboard
A springboard, yeah.
to achieve your success and show them that you are meant to be who you are and you can achieve anything, or you use it as a negative side and then you just don't achieve anything and you go into depression and all that. Now,
Mm,
in telling our stories, because we're talking about she said that we're a brand. I see us, if we can tell our stories as a brand in itself, you know, it would
yeah.
even help, but it needs a collective spirit, a collective voice to be able to achieve that. And that's where I put my
The power
question.
of a collective voice. Last year's Congress.
Yes. Sorry, I want to add. I want to add something to the. I think it's the same question that you're still answering about how we can portray ourselves to be
Mm,
attractive. When I said teen
mm,
cells, just thinking,
mm,
even though I was making a joke of the whole situation at that time. I feel
Mm,
like even if we don't portray ourselves as sinners, I mean, we're not twerking or anything on video to sell
mm.
to sell
mm,
this
Romantic,
sickle cell brand, but
relationships.
yes, I'm also
yeah.
thinking about let's talk about the Christian religion now. There was a time
Yeah.
that there are some movies that were just so depressing and dull. Even though yes, that's all we knew, so we used to watch it. But that's why when we started seeing American films with this is nice, or we started seeing
Yeah.
even Nigerian films looking nice, they had to
Yes.
even upgrade
Yeah.
the
Great.
quality,
Yeah.
the production, everything. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
Mm-hmm.
we
That's true.
also need to be able to be creative, be mad creative, upgrade our the quality of what we are putting out there.
Mm.
Let people know that look, if you're associated with this,
Let's
it's going
make
to
it
be a hit.
attractive. That's true.
Exactly. Let's make it as attractive as possible.
That's true.
And um, we are lucky that there are a lot of people. I mean, we're all in the young generation. Even as saying it's a young generation.
Our generalissimo.
Let's
Yes,
use
I'm young.
our influence. Like let's switch
Yeah.
things up and show that look, we're not it's not business as usual. Let's keep coming out
True.
with spontaneous things. Let's not be a one-way
Mm.
traffic. Because another thing I see is that
Yeah.
when one NGO or organization or somebody starts something, everybody jumps on the bandwagon and then it becomes boring. Let's just
Yeah.
all be
Yeah.
creative and do our own things.
Yeah.
That's my
That's
own
true.
two
Mm.
cents.
Mm.
True.
Yeah, yeah. It all boils down to even the what I was saying about us coming together too. Because look, really, it's only we can achieve this collectively. If we do it as individuals, it can be difficult. And I'm not
To be
talking about just
witty.
organizations, as individuals, people in
Yeah.
several places of management of wherever your work spaces. We can come together. You
Yes.
don't necessarily have to. to show yourself. But if you're somebody in a high position, you have the finance, you can say, okay, I don't want to be, but I will bankroll A, B, and C. You understand? So it's not something like,
Yeah.
okay, you must show yourself. But you know, you're in
Yes.
that position to be able to influence policies, influence financial projects. It's something that
Mm.
you should be able to to put your mouth where it is, as I would say, because at the end of the day, it will all come around and affect us still,
Yeah.
whichever way we look
Yes.
at it. So it's better to create a change. So I'll, in fact,
Yeah.
all the questions I prepared planned questions, but in fact the conversation was just flowing that I just but
Thank God
any
for
last
that.
words, any last word or experiences you want to share about before we go?
Well, for me, I think we can only just continue to remain optimistic. The down times will always come. There's no doubt about it. In as much as that unwanted visitor comes middle of the night, it changes our moods. But
Mm,
like they always say, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. Let's take it as just another. If you were not a warrior, you would have been something. You may be something else that may be worse, better. But in as much as you breathe, there will always be challenges. Now it's now left for you to face the challenges and make lemonade out of your lemon.
mm.
Thank you.
I would say, like I said recently, I said, don't just make lemonade, make smoothie, make it,
You can imagine.
everything out of your lemons.
That's true. That's
Before
true.
TV says our own, I just realized I did not ask if anybody had any more questions because I know some people came on. If you have questions you
Okay.
want to ask it now. Just post it in the comment while Timmy just says her final uh, encouragement or whatever you feel. If it's not encouragement or direction, I say
Okay.
direction.
Or instruction.
Instruction, that's what I wanted to say
And by
to
the way, your
my
interview yesterday on TVC was good to me.
Thank you.
yes.
Thank you, David.
I like
Thank
what
you.
you said. I like what you said.
Thank you. Okay,
Yeah.
so I would just like to toe the line of David. I mean, it only just gets better. Life gets
Mm,
better. And then, in the words of an uncle of mine, Uncle Abby, I remember a few years ago, I've been having, like, I was always sick, and I was sick as
Mm,
usual, and each other had cried that morning. Not even because of the pain, but just because I was just emotional and tired of life.
mm,
And he told me that um, there are two different types of crosses in this world. There's the ugly cross that is obvious, but
mm,
people don't know it's light. And then there's the cross that looks like gold, but it's heavy as hell.
mm,
That sometimes you
mm.
look at someone and you're thinking, oh wow, this person has it all going. This person is rich, this person is successful, everything. I mean, it's obviously carrying a crop, but to you, it's like flashy and shiny. You don't see it across, you just think, oh, what accessory is this? But to that person, it's a cross. I mean, the whole point of this message is we all have crosses as human beings to carry. Every single person has. Life hits people, life hits one in, in crazy ways. I mean, you could be having
Yeah,
it be smooth and sailing and I'm happy 1 minute, and then your whole world comes crashing down. So
yeah,
it's your attitude. It's your attitude during that time. I mean, cry where if you
yeah.
can. Um, um, lock yourself up if you want to. Be depressed, but have an expiry date to your depression.
And make
Don't
it
exactly.
let
fast.
it.
Make the expiry date fast.
Stay fast. Make it
Yes.
very fast because once you enter,
Very
you leave it,
fast.
it's difficult to come
Yes.
out of it.
Like
Yeah.
I remember when I was going through one of my phases, and my friend said, "You know what? I'm going to give it to the end of the month to cry." And it was like first of
Wow.
that month. He said, he said, "So you can keep calling me every day to cry if you want, but if you cry after this 31st, you're going to buy me a
You're on
drink." I
your
mean,
own.
and you need to put a punishment. Like I'm going to
Yeah.
have to be,
Yeah.
do something. So the whole point is, please just I want you to realize that everybody has challenges in this life. You will find out
Mm,
that you will carry your challenges better. You carry your
yes.
life better. You
Yes.
just keep it moving. You'll be overwhelmed. You'll be like, oh God, what? Why me? But after you've said why me, why not you? You keep moving. You know, as long as we're on this
Exactly.
side of the divide, that's what life is all about. So
That's it.
yeah.
One
That's
more
exactly
thing now.
what I mean. Yes.
Let's always remember that with all the things we do, it can only be God. Let's not remove the God
Mm.
factor because
Yes,
I
God is
mean,
Mhm.
extremely
let's
important.
always acknowledge Him in whatever we do. You know,
Yeah.
Yes,
we are
thank you
we
for
are we
that.
are we are we are fallible. We are fallible. We'll keep falling. He's the only one
Mm.
that we look up to that makes us rise up again. You know.
Yes, yes, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, and that's the reality. So, I just want to show some comments. Tasiwa says there's always light at the end of the tunnel. Thanks, David, my son. He seems to
we,
know.
I have so many mothers, you know.
Yes, happy says you are not a warrior. You could have been something worse. That's what to me, I guess I remember said, yeah. So yeah,
Was it me or
basically that.
David? I don't know.
Is it David? Is it
Yeah, it
David
was
that said
me.
that?
It was
Yeah,
me.
it's
Okay,
David.
okay. Okay.
Somebody's cutting me.
It's good. Yeah,
Uh,
and that's the reality. I always say that, like when you said that, always think that somebody has what's problem than yours, and that's the type of thinking I adopt. And I also try and help somebody because I find that when you're helping somebody else with an issue, you tend to negate your own, like, ah,
helpless.
my own issue, I thought it was
Yes.
bad because I know I personally I went through a lot. And but the fact that I help other people, I just don't look at my challenges and anything. And that's where purpose comes
Mm,
in and understanding why you're
that's true.
you're you're brought into this world as you are. And once we establish
Mm,
that fact, I think it's easier for us to tell our stories because we know that because we are brought here for a purpose, we have the responsibility to carry out that purpose by telling people about and inspiring people about what we're going through and helping people who are also going through the same challenge, not just sickle cell, but any form of challenge. Because let's face it, a challenge is a challenge, and you all face depression at one point in time, you all face your downtime. Because once you see somebody who has been able to overcome it, you are inspired to do the same as well. So thank you both for coming on the show. It's been a great
thank you,
discussion.
ma.
Thank you for
You don't
having
know put an
us.
Thank you, ma.
wow. That's good. Good, good. Thank you so much. And for all who have watched and been online, thank you for watching. We'll see you on Saturday again with another interesting topic. This is a production of the Sickle Cell Advocacy and Management Initiative, supported by the Public Affairs section of the U.S. Consulate. And remember, coming together with one voice will make a difference in someone's life. Thank you.
Thank you, ma.
Thank you. Bye, guys. Thank you.